right, we're right into it this afternoon. There are very, very few exceptions that I would make for a guest ahead of the Reardon Roundtable, a Friday tradition here on KMOX. But there are exceptions that are to be made. One, Ted Nugent. If Ted Nugent wants to come on, he can come on anytime that he wants. The other one is United States Senator Roy Blunt, who is with us in the studio this afternoon. I know you, and you're, by the way, you are welcome to stay for the roundtable. Which
I saw the roundtable assembling out there. I almost wish I could stay, but it looked like a pretty tough group. So,
one time, Senator Bond came by, and I think he was still in office at that time, and we just kept him for the whole hour. So anytime, you're always, it's an open
Friday
invitation.
Afternoon, Reardon Roundtable.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be fun. And you're right, the panel is assembled. Let's see, we have Kim Tucci, State Senator Eric Schmidt, and Brian Wabi. They're all going to be here in just a matter of a couple of minutes. So let's just get caught up on what's happened in Washington the past couple of days. And some of this, as I've been getting ready for vacation, I've only caught bits and pieces of. Is there a farm bill?
There's no farm bill. There's a House-passed farm bill that was farm bill only.
But did they send it back to you guys?
We have not yet decided to go to conference on that farm bill. But hopefully we will, and we can deal with what needs to happen to reform the programs, both that impact farm families and the programs that are now where most of the spending is, the so-called nutrition programs from WIC to the Women's, Infants, and Children programs, to school lunch programs, to, of course, the biggest program of all now would be what we used to call the food stamp program, now the SNAP program.
Right. Now, one of the questions
One thing we did, though, we did announce we're going to get done as soon as we get back, is the student loan situation.
Well, that was the next thing I was going to ask you about.
Reached a good conclusion.
All right, what's the end result of that?
The end result is going to be a solution for everybody that gets a loan. I was a university president for 4 years before I went to the Congress, and this matters to families a lot. I've talked to lots of families who are trying to figure out just how they could pay the loan back is a big enough of a challenge, no matter what the interest rate is. And what this does is tie the interest rate ongoing to whatever is the 10-year borrowing rate for the government at the time. Right now, that rate is almost nothing. And so the rate for Stafford loans will be under 4%. That'll be for the life of that loan. That will be the rate for that loan. And unlike the proposal, frankly, that the majority came up with of extending this one more year for the subsidized loans, that's about 30% of them, this is for everybody. All 11 million families that right now are entering into with their student the discussion about what's it going to take to go to school this fall. All 11 of them will benefit from this permanent change now in the law.
One of the questions is, though, have we artificially set those interest rates too low to make the money so cheap that people can, because we're looking at this bubble that now we have in this country where there are people that have, it used to be a lot to have $20,000, $30,000 in loans, and now you have $100,000, $200,000 in loans.
Well, that's right. Now, of course, if you're the guy that has that loan, artificially cheap would be a good thing if you're the young man or young woman or family that's looking at that loan.
If you can pay it back.
But it's about 3% above the rate. So, the government also benefits now from a significant, this is a 10-year bond, so the government's borrowing the same money for 10 years at a rate that's low enough that no matter what happens, these loans should not lose money for the government. The place where the government now it may lose money is, the government, in a way that I thought was the wrong decision, decided to become the sole lender for student loans. We'll see if the government's as good a collector as private lenders were. My guess is probably not. So where we lose money is not in the interest rate. It's in people that, for whatever reason,
default, and then you can't collect. Right.
And, and the government's never been as good at collecting money as people were when it was money they loaned themselves, and I don't know why that will change. But I think overall this is a private sector solution, a rate tied to the lending that the government has, and it's something that families and individuals know is going to be there for as long as that loan is there. So when you borrow money, you don't have at least the excuse of not knowing when you borrow it what you're going to have to do to pay it back.
You on a little bit of a break here? When do you head back?
We're back at work on Monday and Tuesday, and probably an appropriations bill on the floor next week. But the the most significant thing we need to get done next week in a timely way is finalize this agreement on student loans because, again, you got 11 million families that between now and about Labor Day are making a final decision about what they can afford to do for that part of their loan.
What needs to be done then to finalize it? What needs to be done to finalize it?
We haven't voted on it.
Oh, you haven't voted on it yet?
We haven't
okay.
voted on it
well,
yet.
That would help, right?
That would help. That's
but
right.
you have
and
to.
The president's agreed. The Senate Democrats have agreed. This is essential. This plan is very close to the plan that House Republicans proposed about a month ago, and not too far from the plan the White House proposed. The outlier here has always been Senate Democrats of wanting to say, well, let's extend the current proposal for the subsidized loan for another year. And remember, these are loans. So the subsidized loan is for families that are of more difficult circumstances. But a whole lot of families have to borrow money now to send their kids to school. And they need the protection of this, too. This really is a solution that doesn't do anything to hurt the subsidized family, but it really does help the middle-income family that's also found themselves in a place where they've got to borrow some money. But you guys,
the Republicans were painted all along in this argument as the bad guys again,
absolutely.
Right? Trying to keep students from going to school, hurting families, all these things.
Right. And you can find the letters to the editor about me and other Republicans who said we don't want to solve just this one problem and we don't want to solve it for just 1 year. Let's solve it for everybody for a long period of time. Let's just not think about the 30% of the families that get some government assistance in paying the loan back. Let's think for the other 70% that are going to pay this loan back themselves.
Senator Blunt, you're welcome to stay for the roundtable. But
the roundtable's going to be great. I wish I could stay. It's always good to be here with you.
Yeah, we'll see you again sometime soon.
Thanks.
Senator Roy Blunt with us this afternoon on KMOX.